alignment is inevitable. Two must become one.
This is America. We are American citizens. We should be first. After our country looks amazing, after all of our streets are fixed and our homeless problems is fixed and everybody's making money and we're doing all these things, then we can be concerned with other causes outside of this country. But right now, we are a crumbling country and it needs to be fixed. And that's what America First is about. And all these people who say, oh, I'm America First, and then talk about sending money to Ukraine or doing things for other countries or Israel and this and that. And it's bullshit. I don't give a if you're black, white, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, whatever the you are here in this country. If you're an American citizen, you come first.
How is your relationship with Candace Owens nowadays?
She's a great friend. You know, look, I don't agree with everything Candace says, but you know what I don't do? I don't stop being friends with people just because people morally blackmail me. I don't do that, and you shouldn't either. Look, I have different views on things as Candace. I have different views on Israel than Candace. I have different views on a lot of geopolitics. But honestly, I traveled the country with Candace. I went to her wedding. I saw her meet her husband. I went to Israel with Candace, which is a fun story I'll tell you at some point. But what I don't like is when people demand, you must stop being friends with somebody. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a left-wing tactic. Don't do that. I'm not saying you do that, but other people do that. We should never resort to that. In fact, if you believe what I believe, shouldn't you want me to be friends with people that don't agree with us? Shouldn't you want me to also be a tool of influence? And so I think the world of Candace. She's a great mother. She certainly has very, very fun opinions at times. And she's a great talent. She says a lot of stuff that sometimes I don't agree with, but that's what makes our relationship and our friendship interesting.
All right, you guys, happy Monday. Erika Kirk, man, she really is just the moment. The speech that she gave, everybody was just wowed by her. I felt my energy personally, like last night going into that. I was effectively like soaring in the air above the convention center, like a dragon above, waiting for Erika to just be like, fire. And I was just gonna come down and swoop in out of nowhere. All the politicians, all the fake people, everyone was just gonna be in that moment toast. But she didn't call for war. Erika did not call for war. In fact, she did the exact opposite, which is what was so stunning. It was unbelievable. The forgiveness that she granted, the strength that it took for her to call for that forgiveness, it's just unmatched, and it really made a difference. And I was being serious when I tweeted that I think it was the most consequential speech in American history, a message that everyone needed to hear, including myself, a message of complete submission to Christ. And by the way, later on, we're also going to discuss another kind of submission to Christ, which is submitting yourself to truth. Kash Patel has now come out and issued a statement fully capitulating to the public insistence that they're lying to us. They are so clearly lying to us about what happened on the day that Charlie Kirk lost his life. Nothing they've told us thus far makes any sense, and somehow it's only getting worse. So welcome back.
I did a deep dive on Erika, so you don't have to. Let's get into it. Erika Kirk was born Erika France Fee on November 20th, 1988 in Scottsdale, Arizona. She came from an affluent family, attended private Catholic schools growing up, and she went to Notre Dame Prep, which was a private Catholic high school. She graduated in 2006, and a couple months later, she established Everyday Heroes Like You, which is a 501c3 organization, a tax-exempt company because of its religious charity work affiliations. She started this adventure at only 17 years old. Through this company, she did missionary work with the U.S. military. Now, while she was doing missionary work with the U.S. military all over the world, she was also somehow attending Arizona State to study political science and international relations. At this time, she also worked as a model and was training to be a Miss USA pageant girl. In August of 2012, Erika went on a trip to Romania with the U.S. military to do missionary work through her company. Said that they all fell in love with the children, so she set up a partnership through her missionary with an orphanage. Through that partnership, you could donate money to adopt a child by sending children money and gifts through her organization. In 2013, she had posted a YouTube video about her August 2012 trip, which features a bunch of pictures. Now, one thing really interesting that I noticed is that on her website, there were images on the website that were allegedly taken on the August 2012 trip. So how is that possible? This is where it gets really dark, guys. Trigger warning. So interestingly enough, between 2010 and 2013, there were multiple reports of Romanian children being trafficked, specifically trafficked out of the country to Izzyland, the UK, and unnamed private islands. Multiple organizations and Romanian authorities have alleged that child trafficking has been a growing issue since post-communist era started and the US military, the UN, and NATO set up operations in Romania. There have been multiple reports over the past couple decades of US military officers, UN officers, and NATO officers all being involved in trafficking children out of Romania. Very clear, Erika Kirk's organization, Romanian Angels, was never charged with human trafficking or child trafficking. They had just been one of the evangelical Christian ministries that had been accused of working with the US military to traffic children out of the country. But she was never charged with it. Now on to something a little bit lighter. After Erika's missionary trip in August 2012, she had returned to America and received a brand deal with a company called Rebirth. She continued doing her missionary work with the US military in Romania, and she also attended Arizona State, finished getting her political science degree and her international relations degree. Fast forward to 2016, she founds Bible in 360, which is a missionary service. Then in 2017, she attended Liberty University, which is a private Christian institution, and there she obtained a Juris Master's degree and a doctorate in Christian leadership. So she's got the highest title in terms of professionally educated Christian leadership, interestingly enough. Then in 2018, she was featured on 2 episodes of a reality TV show for rich people, which basically is just a show where rich people go vacation in the Hamptons. They follow the crew that goes in the Hamptons, all of the shenanigans that goes on. It's basically like a champagne and caviar version of Jersey Shore. Anyways, she was set up on a date on that show with a rich Christian Nepo baby, but it didn't work out. That same year, she decided to found her clothing company, Proclaim, which is currently what she's been pushing. Now, just a couple months before she met Charlie Kirk, she launched her own podcast titled Midweek Rise Up. And according to that About Me section on her podcast website, she worked in the entertainment industry as a model, an actress, and a casting director. Allegedly, her first date with Charlie Kirk in 2019 was set up by some mutual of theirs within the Trump administration. I'm assuming it's Trump because she was one of Trump's models and Charlie Kirk was one of Trump's influencers and had signed on to work with Trump since 2016. I can only assume that Trump was a matchmaker, but maybe it was someone else. Anyways, she started dating Charlie Kirk in 2019, and then by December 2020, they were engaged. On May 8th, 2021, they got married and they had a Turning Point USA funded wedding. Their whole wedding was like a sponsored post. It was really weird, but it worked for them. Sometime in 2021, around the time that she was getting married or shortly after, Erika merged her ministry, Bible in 365, with her clothing company, Proclaim, and then started their family. When Erika was 33 years old, she gave birth to their first child. And at age 35, she welcomed their second child. And even though she was busy being pregnant, giving birth, raising kids, being a devoted wife, being a model, acting, working as a casting director, running a ministry, running a clothing company, and running a podcast, while already having a doctorate and a Juris Master's under her belt, she decided to go back to school. And she went back to school to become a real estate agent. Isn't that kind of crazy? Now, on top of everything that I just mentioned, and grieving Charlie Kirk's death and having to deal with taking over his business and running the Turning Point USA company, she's also been working as a luxury real estate agent at the Corcoran Group in New York City. I don't know how she keeps up with everything, because having a career in New York while living in Arizona and going on the college debate tours with your husband is insane. They must spend a lot of time traveling, but they do work really hard. Just Charlie's net worth prior to his passing was sitting around 12 million, while hers was sitting around 5 million. And since the passing, they've been able to raise over $3 million for Charlie Kirk's foundation in memory of him. So, you know, where they're sitting at roughly 20 million. Charlie's kids are taken care of. He worked really hard to make sure that they were taken care of. He said that he was a capitalist. He was very proud of being a capitalist. So yeah, he made a bunch of money, and so did his wife. I'd honestly argue that his wife worked more than he did, because she had so much stuff going on and has been since before he was even out of high school. whole honeypot handler conspiracy theory was really just born out of a weird coincidence that some grapers had pointed out. Erika worked for Trump previously, and Trump had won a Jewish Tree of Life award, which is the highest honor award that you could possibly get. Erika now works for Pamela Liebman, someone else who was recently awarded with the same award that Trump had. And the chances of working for two people who were awarded the highest award ever is really slim. But
Israeli hard-right government has a mandate, I gotta be careful the way I say this, they're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. Yep. I mean, I don't use that term lightly, okay? They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people from there, okay? And honestly, they have a mandate to go seek justice and revenge. They do. This idea that they need to have a truce or a peace treaty, that's morally crap after you see women and children be burned alive and dragged to the streets. But there are some serious questions here, Patrick. And let me tell you, my pattern recognition over the last 5 years has become pretty sharp. COVID, Maui fires, Epstein. When I see a story and it doesn't click, our guts are usually right. So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still had the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that's an IDF soldier. Right, the whole country is surveilled, and so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order?
If Bibi Netanyahu, if he does something I don't like, and if I criticize it, am I like a bad Christian?
Absolutely not.
What I find strange is that we're able to criticize the American government sometimes in the Christian world with more freedom than the Israeli government. To be pro-Israel means you believe in the nation of Israel, not necessarily the government of Israel. When Joe Biden was president, you and I we loved America, but we detested our government. And those two things beautifully coexisted.
Yeah, you never once said, "Hey, I'm out on
America."
On
of
America,
course it was the
right?
opposite.
Exactly.
And what they don't want is they don't want to be called bad Christians if they challenge a foreign government, which is what happens so often.
Right.
Like, you're a bad Christian if you have a question about a foreign government.
Right.
That creates backlash that I don't think people understand. If Bibi Netanyahu, but it goes to the point where, if, for example, if I have less ability sometimes online to criticize the Israeli government without backlash than actual Israelis do. It's
been
almost
so
as if
unfair. They were coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Like, I host a person that I moderate the debate of, mind you, right? And I give equal time to Josh Hammer, equal time to a pro-Israel advocate, and my moral character is being put into question. And so I think it's a hyper paranoid, like, we're just going to try to, we're going to just stamp out everything type of practice.
It's there's some rule you can't go there when it comes to Israel.
So I want to be very clear here. No one, and I mean absolutely no one, outside of my husband and Erika Kirk has the power to shut me up right now. That's it. 2 people. If you got to make an appeal, you got to go to them.